Hey everyone, welcome to Thriving Marriage with Mark
and Bethany.
This is our weekly discussion of marriage and family in the Christian life. And today we want to get into the topic of parenting. Specifically, we want to talk about obedience.
Yes.
What it is, because we have a precise definition.
Okay.
And then how to teach your kids to do it.
Oh, this is gold. This is needed.
This is needed. Yes.
This is
Hopefully
so
it is gold.
needed. Well, it makes me think about our last little trip we had and the obedience that we saw on our trip. Actually, it's the lack of obedience, right? Do you remember this?
The lack of obedience.
Okay, we're at the pool, we're lounging, and there's a family there. And all you can really hear as our eyes are closed, we're relaxing, is walk, 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 walk.
Right.
I mean, the walk literally came out 30 times, and then there'd be a pause, and then again, walk, 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 walk. I mean, this dad was yelling at his children to walk at the pool, but he was just saying the command, walk, like over and over and over and over. And as
While his kids were running.
as they were not walking.
Yeah.
And then we proceeded, like the whole pool time, there were multiple other times where whatever he was telling them to do, get out of the pool, get out of the pool, get out of the pool, out of the pool, out of the pool. I mean, it was just
Come
like,
over here. Come over here. Come over here. Don't go out that gate. Don't go out that gate. And the kids just totally disregarded his words.
I think his idea of obedience is if I say it 40 times, maybe they'll hear me and then hopefully do it.
Yeah.
It was kind of sad.
It was terrible.
It was
really frustrating. And, it helped us just to regain our appreciation for our kids listening to what we say
Yes.
and responding to what we say all the way. And we're going to talk more about what that obedience looks like that we want our kids to see. But it was so frustrating and annoying. And we saw it at this little getaway that we had, which is a really rare occurrence, but it was awesome, by the way. And we see it at like the park on a weekly basis where parents are like, don't throw sand. Hey, Johnny, don't throw sand. Hey, I'm serious. I really mean it this time.
1, 2.
Right.
Don't throw sand. 3. Don't do it. It's like, whoa, I want to walk over and be like, don't you throw sand or there's a consequence.
Yeah.
Boom.
Right. So it's everywhere all around us, and our kids are watching other kids disobey or disregard their parents. And we just want to spend a little bit of time stressing obedience and working hard for, as parents, working hard to help our kids to obey. And first, we need to establish what exactly we're aiming at when we talk about obedience.
Yeah, because we're not, those examples we just gave are not what we're talking about.
Right.
Repetitive commands, counting, waiting a long time for them to actually listen, kind of give you, like, it's almost like you're just kind of saying to the kid, whenever you feel like obeying me would be great. Like, that's not what obedience is.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess for our purposes here, we'll give a definition of obedience is doing what you say all the way with a good attitude. Okay, so that's when we tell our kids we expect them to obey and we try to enforce and teach obedience. That's what we have in mind. Doing what we tell them to do, doing it all the way completely, not partially, and then doing all of these things with a good attitude. So let's talk about each one of those real quick.
Yeah, so the what you say is like the thing we're asking, go throw away your trash, whatever it might be, you're doing that right away, right when the command is given. So I think that's important because I don't have to give the command many times. I don't have to explain why the command is there or, whatever. It's like, stop what you're doing, whatever that might be, and this is the thing I'm asking you to do. Do it now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of people, that is their definition of obedience.
Right.
Do what I say.
Do what I say.
And so that, that's pretty straightforward. We're adding on to that two more aspects that are essential to what we mean when we say obedience. And so the second aspect is doing it all the way. So not just walking halfway over to the trash can, but walking all the way to the trash can and actually successfully making your trash into the receptacle.
Yeah, because how many times have I seen our kids throw away their trash and like 3 of the pieces go in and 2 fall on the floor. And they're like, oh, well, I basically got it. You know, I'm batting like 4 out of 5 or whatever. And then they start walking away. And I'm thinking, whoa, all of them need to go in. It's like the full thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Or our kids, for some reason, it's a real struggle in life to resist the urge to throw the pillows all over the floor. Ugh. And so, you know, just about every day, we find ourselves saying, hey, can you pick the pillows up and put them back on the couch? And oftentimes what could happen if we don't enforce this kind of obedience is they pick up like 2 pillows.
Right.
And there's 18 on the floor.
Yeah.
Or so it feels like.
Whoa, I don't have 18 pillows.
All right, well, this is what it feels like. So maybe they leave one, and it's like, oh, I didn't see that one.
Right.
And sometimes their attention to detail is just not as thorough as ours.
Yes.
So they don't pick up on the completeness that we're looking for. Okay.
Totally.
So doing it all the way. And then the third aspect is with a good attitude.
Yeah.
And I love tacking this on because it's a deal breaker. If you don't do what we say all the way with a good attitude. If you do it what we say all the way, but with a bad attitude, you've failed in obeying completely.
You've disobeyed. Yeah. This may be my one that just really gets me. You know, it's from all the way from the rolling of the eyes and the big sigh, you know, to, you know, like that's when you walk away, to
why?
Well, why? I don't think I should, or that's his job, or I mean, whatever sort of sass comes out.
Yeah.
It's like between the different boys and girls and the different personalities, that can be shown in different ways. But if their attitude, if they're all, you know, grumpy about it or sassy about it, I tell them, you're not obeying, even though you're technically doing the thing, you're disobeying, and now we need to talk about it, or now there needs to be a consequence. And I think that's huge because we don't want them getting away with being grouchy, grumpy, having a sinful response when they obey, when they are attempting to obey.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is just as much a part of obeying as doing the thing.
Right. Totally.
Right? And
totally.
So that being the definition, we start with that because we have to know what we're talking about when we ask for obedience, and our kids do too.
Yeah.
So for the second part of this episode, we're going to talk about how to teach kids how to obey, and maybe we could just start by saying they need to know what you mean when you say obey.
Yes.
They need to know that this is the definition.
Yeah. Yeah, we've written it on a whiteboard. We've broken it down. We've given examples. I mean, we want it to be clear from the oldest to the youngest, and even the ones that maybe we think they don't quite understand. They're listening. They're picking it up, right? But this is what we expect. This is the full package, and we want all the pieces there.
Yeah. And so it's essential to have your kids understand what you expect in asking for obedience.
Yeah.
And then being really clear about what you're asking them to do. So just clear about the definition, clear about the task. Mm-hmm. Take your trash and throw it in the trash can. That's a pretty clear command.
But I get it.
You know, maybe other things we can be a little less clear on, and that makes it harder for our kids.
Or long-winded. It's like we sneak in commands over a full paragraph. I sometimes do that. And then it's like, wait, what am I asking you to do? You know, be
can
concise.
You repeat everything you just said?
Yeah. I wasn't listening, Mom. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so those are maybe a couple things, but another is to practice obedience and to help your kids to obey by giving them opportunities when the stakes are low.
Yes.
And just kind of by way of practice.
I got all kinds of things to say about this.
Say it. All right.
Get me fired up. No, but it's true. I think when you're in your home, in the safe environment, when the kid is the most comfortable, I think there needs to be practice sessions of obeying when they're those young toddlers. And of course, even as you're older. I mean, the home is a great practice ground for all of this that we're talking about. But I just remember so many times, you know, we would not totally safety-proof our house. We'd make it safe for the kids, but we'd leave some areas where they could practice. Don't touch that breakable item, or don't go right here, or we wouldn't necessarily have all the bells and whistles because we'd want the practice time, and we'd go over. I remember sitting and saying, no touch, and the, you know, toddler's baby is like reaching, and, you know, they get the little flick right then and there, and then
right.
let's try that again. That was not obeying. You need to obey mom. No touch. You did obey. And so it's like a safe practice environment. And you can do that little. You can do that when they're older. I mean, I just think it needs to be practiced, and they need to have heard you say, no, that's not obeying. Yes, you are obeying. Try that again. All that stuff.
Yeah, I think that's huge, and that takes work for the parent.
A lot, yeah.
So we can sit here and be frustrated at the end of the night that our kids don't obey, or they're not obeying with a good attitude, or they're not doing it all the way. And we could sit here and lament our kids' lack of obedience, but not if we haven't gone to great efforts to teach them. And I think what you're describing here is one of those kind of extra efforts to really do everything in your power to equip them to obey.
Right.
Practice with them. Go out on a walk, go into the kitchen, create a scenario, and run through it.
Yeah.
And that's going to be extra time in your schedule. You're going to have to plan. You're going to have to be strategic, but that's setting your kid up for success.
Totally. I actually just heard a story from a friend that they know of a dad who just wants their kids to regularly practice just coming to him when he calls. So he'll just yell a name, John, come here. And the kid's has to come quickly right away. Yes, Dad? And he goes, oh, just wanted to say hi or tell you I love you. But then every once in a while, he'll give him a treat. Just oh, I just wanted to give you a treat. Thanks for obeying. He just sees these little practice sessions, so they just have to hop up, come to him.
Love it.
I love that.
All right, another thing here for how to teach your kids to obey is to enforce it.
Yeah.
So we talked about practice. That's good. When the practice is over, when it's game time, and it's time to actually enforce what you are asking your kids to do, you need to follow through. And so there needs to be a consequence if they don't obey in the full-orbed picture of obedience that we described.
Ooh, full-orbed, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, and it's just like in TJ Maxx Roros the other day, a mom saying, come here, come here, come here. The kid is never coming, and there's no incentive to come or not come or whatever.
Right.
The mom's just repeating, and you can hear her getting frustrated. The voice is going up. It's getting louder. It's getting more angry. But that kid is thinking, if I come, so what? If I don't come, so what?
It's do I feel like it or not?
Do I feel like it or does it seem convenient to me? And I think that's where, in our home, what we've striven to do is
we've striven so hard.
What we strive to do is if they don't obey, there's a consequence.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. Well, I'm not sorry. This is our expectation. You didn't obey, therefore there's a consequence.
Yeah.
And we do try to praise, encourage, reward at times when they do obey and say, I love how you obeyed. I say that. I love that your obedience was so quick. I love that you smiled and you weren't grouchy. I try to point out when they do the right sort of things too.
Yeah. This one also takes a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
This takes a lot of work to follow through on your word, to discipline them if they disobey. Even if it's one minor aspect of the three-part explanation of obedience, maybe if they just missed one and just missed it a little bit, we really need to help them by enforcing some sort of consequence for not obeying. Otherwise, we're teaching them that it's okay to disobey, or it's okay to do it partially.
Yeah. I mean, and this often takes me getting up off the couch or washing the chicken off my hands when I'm prepping dinner. I mean, that's the thing is it can be inconvenient. At times it can feel inconvenient. But the larger picture of wanting our children to obey because Scripture commands it and because we think it's important, then I think it's all worth it,
Right. Yep. So that's huge. And there's one that kind of follows closely on this idea of enforcing obedience. And it's don't call for obedience unless you're serious that you want full obedience about this particular thing.
Right.
And maybe we can come up with some examples here, but before you tell a kid to do something or not do something,
right,
if you're really going to enforce it, you should be sure that this is something that you want to enforce.
Yeah.
Because it's not a good pattern to throw out commands and then withdraw them after they push back.
Yeah.
Or just the unnecessary command.
Right.
It's like choose your battles.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's kind of like the household that has like 50 rules. You know, you're thinking, does there need to be so many little rules, and are all of them necessary, or that they just kind of become, don't do that, and it's all thrown out there, and then it's going to be hard to follow. And some of those, they're not needed, I think.
Right.
So,
and are you going to enforce all 50?
Yeah,
Because
right.
if not, then you're going to teach your kids it's okay to only obey some of them.
Yeah.
But like the example I was thinking is the other day, our kids were playing out in the backyard. They're our kids, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're mine and yours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. They were playing out in the backyard without shoes, and it's
Right.
pretty treacherous out there with all the weeds and the thistles.
Yes.
And so I said, hey, if you guys are going to be in the backyard, you have to wear shoes.
Right.
And so at that point, I was on the line to hold them to it.
Yeah.
Because at one point I was like, why did I say that?
Right.
Who cares if they're in the back?
Yeah.
They're going to get a thistle in their foot. I'll pull it out. We'll deal with it. It'll
Yeah.
be fine.
Yeah.
But I had to hold to that.
Yeah.
And then I had to enforce when a
Right.
kid tried to push back. So
Right. And
anyway, choose your battles.
Totally. Yeah. I think that's worth thinking through.
Okay, the last thing we want to present here, and there's more I think that we could talk about, maybe this for a future episode, but the last thing is that you have to keep teaching obedience. It's
Yeah.
not enough to teach your kid to obey when they're 1 or 2 years old. You have to teach them when they're 1 or 2 years old. But then guess what? You also have to teach them when they're 3 and throughout that entire year.
Right.
Because the temptation to disobey and what disobedience looks like changes at every stage of childhood development.
Yeah. And their temptations and their struggles change. So whereas one of our kids may not really have a problem with the attitude portion, all of the sudden now they're getting that real kind of attitude that sneaks in. So things just change as they grow, as they're older. You have to keep coming back to, how are our kids obeying? What do they need to work on? And what do I need to fix in order to make sure that they are obeying me the whole way?
That's right. And it just takes time to learn. And we're still learning, aren't we?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I guess we know what it looks like, and maybe we know more clearly when we're disobeying the Lord in some area. But I just think for kids, man, we need to be persistent in teaching them every day, every week, every year throughout their childhood.
Yeah.
And knowing that it's not going to be an instant, my kid is perfect sort of thing.
Wouldn't it be nice, though? No.
It would. Walk, 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 walk.
Oh, it's so bad.
I know. But I'm sure our kids, we've done that too, and we just didn't realize it or didn't see it. But
Right.
Maybe this episode has helped you to maybe take a step back and evaluate maybe some gaps or some problems in your parenting and teaching your kids obedience. So be really good to reflect on that. Talk about it with your spouse.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So,
Well, thanks so much for listening in, and we will see you next time.
all right. See ya.